6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Soundi Tavam. The interim budget will be presented to Parliament on the 30th of August. Another technical discussion with the IMF will be held tomorrow. The Agriculture Minister says Sri Lanka will be self-sufficient in rice with the Maha season harvesting. The central bank governor says that a clear economic stability can be expected by next year. The Japanese ambassador calls on the president. In foreign news, British-Belgian pilot 17 becomes the youngest to fly around the world solo. And in sports, Woods and McIlroy launch high-tech golf league. President Ranil Wickremesinghe is to present the inauguration speech of the second reading of the appropriation bill on the 30th of this month. This decision was taken at the Committee on Parliamentary Business, chaired by the Deputy Speaker of Parliament Ajith Rajapaksa yesterday, to discuss the business of Parliament for the coming week. Accordingly, on the 30th, Parliament is scheduled to convene at 1 p.m. and the President is to present the second reading of the appropriation amendment bill, following which Parliament will be adjourned. The debate on the second reading of the appropriation amendment bill will be held on the 31st of August and September 1st from 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. without a lunch break. Furthermore, on September 2nd from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., the second reading of the appropriation amendment bill will be debated, following which the bill is scheduled to be passed after the committee stage and the third reading. Discussions between representatives of the International Monetary Fund and the Sri Lankan government authorities commenced yesterday at the central bank premises. The International Monetary Fund team is led by Masahiro Nazoki, head of its Sri Lanka operations, and Peter Brewer, head of the International Monetary Fund's Sri Lanka mission, who led an IMF mission to Colombo in June this year. Another technical discussion with the IMF team will be held tomorrow. It has been decided to discuss with the CBSL officials regarding the present economic situation during the meeting with the IMF officials. The IMF team will be in Sri Lanka until August 31st. Sri Lanka is being represented at talks by the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, and a group of officials of the Ministry of Finance. During these discussions, the economic and financial debt restructuring of the country will be discussed at length. Accordingly, the first round of discussions at the technical level started last morning. The objective is to make progress towards reaching a staff-level agreement on a prospective IMF extended fund facility arrangement in the near term. The Minister of Agriculture, Wildlife and Forest Resources Conservation, Mahinda Amaraveera, said a program has been implemented to locally produce the rice needed by the country and make the country self-sufficient in rice with the harvesting of the upcoming Maha season. These facts were disclosed in the special news conference held yesterday to inform the public about the fertilizer distribution program and the popularization of maize cultivation in the Yala and Maha seasons. Sri Lanka has already imported about 550,000 metric tons of rice, so there is no need to import more rice. The minister stated that domestic paddy production is sufficient to produce the rice needed for domestic consumption, and if all the relevant parties cooperate, this goal to be self-sufficient can be reached quickly. Due to the lack of sufficient facilities for the cultivation of maize for animal feed, the constraints that have affected the production of eggs and chicken are a reason for the increase in food inflation, he pointed out. Maize production in 2021 was 90,000 metric tons. The farmers have worked to cultivate 111,000 hectares of maize this year. The minister also emphasized that by meeting the basic needs of the farmers, Sri Lanka will be able to become self-sufficient in maize in 2 more seasons. Sri Lanka is almost self-sufficient in green gram, cowpea and millet, and is currently self-sufficient in groundnuts. The peanuts needed for the imported jumbo peanuts are being currently produced in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, which imports 99% of the local dry chilies requirement, can achieve a yield of 4 million kilograms per acre by giving priority to chili cultivation. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Minister of Power and Energy, Kanchana Wijesekara, has issued an announcement regarding the fuel supplies to be received in the country in the next few days. According to the minister, a shipment of 30,000 metric tons of super diesel is now being unloaded, and the second Ural crude oil cargo ship is scheduled to arrive. In addition, another ship carrying auto diesel is scheduled to arrive today or tomorrow. Also, a ship carrying 92-octane petrol is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka between the 27th and the 29th of this month. The Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, says that a clear economic stability can be expected by next year. He said that steps will be taken to take necessary reforms to maintain the stability of the economy. He further said that the economy of the country has been affected as necessary measures had not been taken at the proper time. Dr. Veerasinghe said the aim is to achieve the target by debt restructuring, reforms and through the success of the IMF program. He further said that the proper fiscal management can be done by restructuring foreign debt more than the local debt. With that, we conclude local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
A meeting between President Ranil Wickremesinghe and the Japanese ambassador Mizukoshi Hideki took place at the president's office yesterday. The Japanese ambassador, who first presented the greetings of the Japanese Emperor Hironomiya Naruhito to Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, engaged in a friendly conversation with him. A special commemorative program jointly organized by the Embassy of Japan and the Sri Lanka Rupamahini Corporation planned for the 6th of September to mark the 70th anniversary of former President J.R. Java addressing the San Francisco Peace Summit was also discussed and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
The Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka has approved power cuts of 3 hours for today as well. Accordingly, the power cuts will be imposed on groups A to L and P to W for 1 hour and 40 minutes during the daytime and 1 hour and 20 minutes at night. The power cut will be imposed on group CC for 2 hours and 30 minutes from 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and groups MNO XYZ for 3 hours from 5:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and came to you in Watchlight.
A Strength to Your Life. CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable gifts and all bills are on 31st of October. Come to CIB today.
On to a bulletin of world news making headlines this morning. Biden cancels $10,000 in student debt for millions under the student loan forgiveness program. Germany approves energy-saving measures for the winter. And British-Belgian pilot 17 becomes the youngest to fly around the world solo. US President Joe Biden will cancel up to $10,000 in federal student loans for millions of Americans who earn less than $125,000 each year. Mr. Biden will also forgive $20,000 of debt for students on Pell Grants, which applies to those in the greatest financial need. Quote, people can financially crawl out under that mountain of debt, unquote, he said. An estimated 43 million Americans owe a combined total of $1.6 trillion in federal student debt, nearly 1/5 or less than $10,000. The temporary student loan pause, first put place in March 2020, will also be extended a final time until 31st December of this year. The German government has approved a set of energy-saving measures for the winter, which will limit the use of lighting and heating in public buildings. The government aims to reduce gas usage by 2% through the new rules. Germany's economy minister said the rules could save private households, companies and the public sector around €10.8 billion over 2 years. It is part of efforts to reduce the country's dependency on Russian gas. Before Russia invaded Ukraine, Germany got 55% of its gas from Russia, but it has reduced this to 35% and vowed to end imports completely. However, it remains a huge market for Moscow and paid almost €9 billion for Russian oil and gas in the first 2 months of the war. A teenage pilot has become the youngest person to fly solo around the world in a small aircraft. Mac Rutherford, 17, landed at Sofia in Bulgaria after a 5-month journey across 52 countries. Along the way, Mac, who was born to British parents but has grown up in Belgium, encountered sandstorms in Sudan and spent the night on an uninhabited Pacific island. His elder sister Zara is the youngest woman to fly solo around the world. She completed her own journey in January this year and disclosed that she had given him advice on the route as she travelled to Sofia to greet Mac as a return to the starting point of his trip. The previous record holder for flying solo was British pilot Travis Ludlow, who was 18 years and 150 days old when he completed his journey last year. To conclude this bulletin of world news, the headlines again. Biden cancels $10,000 in student debt for millions under the student loan forgiveness scheme. Germany approves energy-saving measures for the winter. And British-Belgian pilot 17 becomes the youngest to fly around the world solo. That concludes this bulletin of world news, and on to development news. Hyundai Motor Company has entered into an agreement with Sri Lanka's Abans Auto, authorizing the reputed local automotive retailer to assemble and manufacture Hyundai automobiles and components under license in Sri Lanka. The proposed assembly plant for Sri Lanka has been designed by Hyundai and incorporates the latest technologies, tools and equipment that conforms to Industry 4.0 standards. Abans' partnership with Hyundai is to set up a complete knocked-down vehicle assembly plant that would utilize locally manufactured components developed and manufactured to Hyundai's stringent quality standards. And that came to you in development news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
On to soccer news first. A much-changed Newcastle United side came from behind to beat League Two club Tranmere Rovers and reached the third round of the Carabao Cup. Buoyed from their impressive draw with Manchester City in the Premier League, Newcastle controlled the game but fell behind when Elliot Levitt was teed up. The hosts frustrated Newcastle before captain Jamal Lascelles played on with a broken nose, made it 1-1. Substitute Kieran Tripper's corner was headed in by Chris Wood for the winner. And on to golf news. Golfers Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy have launched a new high-tech league intended to appeal to younger fans that will begin in 2024. The league will feature 6 three-man teams competing on a data-rich virtual course in a stadium setting. Each of the 18-hole contests will take just 2 hours to complete. The league, called TGL, will be run by TMRW Sports, the technology-focused sports company launched by Woods and McIlroy on Tuesday. That's sports news. We look at business news next.
Cash through NSB globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The government is planning to reduce the budget deficit to 6.8% of the gross domestic product in 2023. Cabinet spokesman Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the government is planning to cut the budget deficit to 6.8% of the gross domestic product in 2023 from an expected 9.9% in 2022. He said the Cabinet of Ministers approved a fiscal framework for 2023 to 2025. And that's business news. Economic news up next.
Business news sponsored by
Cash through NSB globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news
courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Asia's richest man, Gautam Adani, is seeking to take over Indian news broadcast New Delhi Television, which is widely known as NDTV. It comes as the multi-billionaire moved to take a majority stake in the firm. NDTV says this was executed without any input from, conversation with or consent of the company's founders. Mr. Adani's bid for NDTV, which operates TV channels and websites, has drawn attention because he is seen as being close to Prime Minister Narendra Modi.